So nowadays, like people are thinking about obviously financial independence, and everybody, especially in Gen Zs, like they want to get financial independence before 40. So is there any formula?
Achieving financial independence at the end of the day is basic common sense. You must have a large salary. If your expenses are X, I would recommend investing at least every month. People dream about multi-baggers. They'll put in a very small amount and the return will become 30X, 40X. But overall, I think the primary driver is
a lot of people basically want to get rich quickly. What would be the advice that you would like to give?
what I see is young people spend a lot of time wasting time on cryptos, trading, and so keep doing this. Either you're going to lose a lot of money or you're going to lose some of your health wasting your time on that. I would suggest you talk about your annual expenses, and that should be, I would say, for a very safe retirement. At least,
How would you do it if you had to start all over again?
I think I'll just stick to what I just said. Put it in. Inaction is the worst thing. We'll do something. I know a guy who waited 1.5 years for buying a term insurance because he was researching for that was a huge risk. I mean, he would have died within those 1.5 years. The problem with today's investors is they don't know where to start. And if they look at somebody and start one part of the journey and they keep changing the journey and they don't know, finally they don't know where they're going to go.
There is also confusion. Like we all know that we have to invest, but like where to invest?
Young people should learn to focus on
First thing is what we'd like to know is how your journey has been, and if you could give some perspective around it.
Yeah, so I was basically a head in the clouds kind of academic. I knew nothing about personal finance or most aspects of life. All I knew was my lab, and I spent most of my time there researching on physics and so on. Before I got my first position, my tenured position, I was thinking about teaching, whether to take up a teaching career or a research career and so on. And just a few days after I got my first salary, my father fell sick, and he had a condition called multiple myeloma. And because of that, the hospital bills quickly, zoomed up, and I had no money to pay them. And then I had to rely on a loan from my brother-in-law and take care of that. So that taught me the importance of both independence as well as money management. And I told myself that I should never be in such a position ever again. So that's how it all started. I started with 1,500 rupees SIP in June 2008 and slowly started increasing it more and more and more. And that's how it all began. So
nowadays, like people are thinking about obviously financial independence, and everybody, especially in Gen Zs, like they want to get financial independence before 40. So is there any formula? Like what should be the corpus?
I have a feeling that many people are asking the wrong questions when it comes to financial independence. In my opinion, they don't understand or truly appreciate what it means. And if you ask them what they will do after, let's say, they actually hit financial independence by 40 or 45, which is a pretty long shot for many people.
Right.
It's easier said than done. And they don't have a clear idea. It's just that they have very stressful jobs and they don't want to be working under their bosses. They have a bad employer or that kind of a thing. They don't want to, it's too stressful for them, and that's why they earn for financial independence. And they want to have get it ASAP. I think a little more balance in life is better for most people. At least for the typical salaried Joe, I would say some kind of better work-life balance would help them. But
आप में से जितने भी लोग हैं जिन्हें स्टॉक मार्केट इन्वेस्टिंग में इंटरेस्ट है, उनके लिए एक छोटा सा अपडेट है कि जो शुभम है वो संडे को एक वेबिनार कर रहे हैं. तो जिन्हें नहीं पता शुभम के बारे में, शुभम 29 की एज में फाइनेंशियली फ्री हो गए थे. इसलिए अमेजॉन यूएस की जॉब छोड़ के वो बैंगलोर इंडिया शिफ्ट हो गए और एक फुल टाइम इन्वेस्टर बन गए. तो अगर आप इस वेबिनार में इंटरेस्टेड हैं और शुभम के एक्सपीरियंस से सीखना चाहते हैं तो इसके लिए आप डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए लिंक से वेबिनार के लिए रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं. और जैसे ही आप वेबिनार के लिए रजिस्टर करते हो, यू विल गेट अ फ्री शॉर्ट कोर्स ऑन योर व्हाट्सएप कि जो स्टॉक प्राइस है किसी भी कंपनी का वो इंक्रीज या डिक्रीज कैसे होता है, प्लस अ कैलकुलेटर जो शुभम यूज करते थे जब वो अपनी फाइनेंशियली फ्री की जर्नी में थे. इसके साथ साथ जब आप संडे को वेबिनार ज्वाइन करोगे तो यू विल ऑल्सो गेट अ फ्री गिफ्ट देयर. हम एक वेबिनार में मैक्सिमम 400 लोगों को एक्सेप्ट करते हैं. अगर इस वीक का वेबिनार आप मिस करते हैं तो आपको अगले हफ्ते तक वेट करना पड़ेगा.
Achieving financial independence at the end of the day is basic common sense. You must have a large salary. You must keep your expenses low. Your expenses should not increase at a rate equal to that of your salary or higher than that. For many people, it is actually increasing higher than their income. And they should not get into too much debt, and they should invest as much as possible. I would say for early retirement or at least early financial independence, twice your expenses. If your expenses are X, I would recommend investing at least twice that much every month. If you can do that, which is very, very difficult for most people. It's easier said than done. But if they can pull that off, then they should be, I mean, see, when you achieve it is a different matter. It depends on market circumstances, etc., too many things. But that's the path. And that's what happened to me in my case. In my case, and to this day, the rate at which my investments have increased is higher than the so-called XIRR or annualized return of my portfolio. So the money I put into it is much higher. It has grown at a far faster rate. So it's a very powerful step up SIP kind of thing. And that's how wealth grows. I mean, we should understand that for wealth to grow, the income, the principle that you put in is a very big component. People dream about multi-baggers. They'll put in a very small amount and the return will become 30x, 40x. That may happen to a very small portion of your portfolio, typically. If at all it happens. It doesn't happen for many people, but if at all it happens. But overall, I think the primary wealth driver is income. Or I would say income minus expenses. And that gap is significant. And if you are disciplined enough to put it into the market or into a balanced portfolio, I would say, then you're on your way to finance.
But sir, there are a lot of people, at least nowadays, as you said, have a very stressful job and are in the process of, want financial freedom because they want to, get off the treadmill, right? So for them, they are always chasing a number. You have anything in mind for them? Because for them, it's like it's not a shade of gray. It's either 0 or 1, right? It's either black or white.
Fairly true. See, if you look at these forums on which talk about early retirement, etc., they always talk about 30x, 40x, and so on. I would suggest you take the reciprocal of that. You take the inverse of that, and you talk about your withdrawal rates. So you talk about your annual expenses, and you divide them by the current value of your corpus, your total corpus available for retirement, and that should be, I would say, for a very safe retirement, at least 3%.
Okay.
Many people will talk about the 4% rule, 4% withdrawal, where you pull out 4% initially and so on. But I would say 3%, you can be very comfortable because the 4% rule does not, work when you rigorously backtest. It is actually lower than that. So to be on the safe side, 3% is a very safe bet, which would come to about almost 40x.
There is also confusion. Like, we all know that we have to invest, but like, where to invest?
I think young people should learn to focus on keeping things simple in terms of investments, and they should ask themselves if they want to take risks in their career. Because when you're young, that's when you want to take risks in your career. You can't take risks when you're 40 in your career, because that's when you're searching for stability in your life, right? Because your kids are in middle school and you're kind of, you want a nice house for yourself and so on. So people should keep their investing very simple. I would say 50 to 60% in a simple index fund will get the job done. Just invest disciplined manner in that. Then you focus on improving your income, upskilling yourself. Can I shift to slightly, a riskier, job profile where, it's not so stable, but the income is higher. Those kind of risks you take when you're young, and you focus on your income. And maybe some people, they want to scratch their entrepreneurial itch and they want to, start a company and so on. Those are the kind of things that you do when you're young. Instead of that, what I see is young people spend a lot of time wasting time on cryptos, trading, and so on. That is not those are all income sources. People should understand you trade as a source of income, and that's going to take a lot of your time. Eventually, people, they give me all sort of excuses. They say algo is there, this and that. But the actual time spent for looking at the markets, looking at the screens and so on, it's it's almost a zero sum game for many people. So if they can focus on actually getting stable incomes and have a long-term plan of their incomes, but keep their investing as simple as possible, then I think they have a very good shot of becoming wealthy. Forget about financial independence, early retirement. They have a good shot of becoming what I usually call as a multi-crorepati, in about 15 years' time.
I think when you are young, right, I think a lot of people like who I talk to basically want to get rich quickly, right? And that is how I think that is how it is when you are young, right? If you want to go in that league as soon as possible. What would be the advice that you would like to give for youngsters? Because the topics for the youngsters these days are like option trading and intraday trading and crypto and whatnot, right? And they want to just earn money quickly. So any advice for them?
Yeah, so in my case, I was studying throughout my entire 20s. I would say I wasted my time study in a sense. My first salary was when I was 32. Right, that's fairly old. Of course, compared to doctors, it's not as old. Doctors is much older when they're actually stabilized and so on. Is post 35, 38 and so on. But for an academic, early 30s is when they kind of start earning. Until then, I knew nothing about money management and I was forced to learn about money. So maybe because I was in my 30s, I was not excited or enticed by tradings kind of thing, because if slightly you become a little bit mature. But today, what happens is after my class, of course I teach physics, but after my class, there are 2-3 people waiting for me to, until I clear all the physics doubts. They wait and they wait for me, and then they come and ask me what is the best way to start trading. Every day I get that question. But every day I tell them, don't trade now. You focus on your career. You focus on improving your skill set so you get a nice stable job. But they won't listen. For them, it's more like it's becoming like a Fifer kind of thing. It's a gig economy where you get quick money in exchange for your short jobs. But they should understand that it takes a lot out of them. Keep doing this. Either you're going to lose a lot of money or you're going to lose some of your health, wasting your time on that. Some people will get it, but most people won't. And it's a process that they have to live through.
If you had to start everything all over again, I think based on your experience, what would you change, or how would you do it if you had to start all over again?
I think I'll just stick to what I just said, put it in an index fund.
Okay.
I think because it's so much easier for everybody to manage. In case I'm not around to manage, it's easy for my wife to pick up things and handle the portfolio for my family. It just takes away the headache of worrying about it. I want to be a money manager where I don't have to look at the markets every day, every week. I don't have to follow financial news every day. I just don't want to look at it at all. Maybe 15 to 30 minutes a year is all I want to look at my portfolio. The only thing I want to track is how much I put in every month. Am I doing that in a disciplined manner? And that will build me the wealth. And I would say, that's what I'm trying to head at. Which is why I even now I don't follow a lot of news that goes on in personal finance space. People expect me to know, but I don't, because I'm trying to not know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what
I think a very interesting thing that I can try to pitch in. So all these TV channels, all these newspapers, right? They basically try to portray as if when you know everything about everything, you are an expert. Right? So any stock you talk about, they always have some view or the other. So, however, in my experience, it is the opposite, right? The less things I know about, the better, right? I just want to focus my energy on the 10% of the things that have a very high probability of success, and just don't know about what is going on in the rest 90% of the things, right? I think the questions that everyone would ask is, what if the interest rates start coming down? What if there is a war tomorrow? What if? So that the number of variables you can keep adding to the equation is like any number of, right?
Correct.
And then when you try to optimize for everything, right, you basically end up optimizing nothing.
Yeah, you'll get nothing done. I mean, I know many people. It's the same thing with a term insurance plan. No, I know a guy who waited 1.5 years for buying a term insurance because he was researching for that was a huge risk. I mean, he would have died within those 1.5 years. That is what happens. This inaction is the worst thing. I mean, do something, invest. That's why I'm saying choose the simplest.
Yeah.
Even if you want to become a active investor, I would say have a base as an index fund base and slowly increase your exposure to active investing.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem with today's investors is they don't know where to start, and they look at somebody and start one part of the journey, and after that they look at somebody else and they change their journey, and they keep changing the journey, and they don't know. Finally, they don't know where they're going to go. Right? And you should have the conviction to choose or reject securities or any other product entirely on your own, based on your own research, and then anything goes. 100% equity is fine as long as you do it yourself. You own up to it. There's nobody, you're not looking at some influencer and saying 100% equity is good. It's your choice. That is different. That decision making is what is missing, I would say, amongst most of us.
ओके, तो इस संडे का वेबिनार ज्वाइन करने का लिंक हमने डिस्क्रिप्शन और फर्स्ट कमेंट में दे दिया है. सी यू इन द वेबिनार.